Vote now on the question, seeing that there are none. Could we have a show of hands, please? All those in favor? Unanimous, thank you. Motion carried. This evening, I just have a couple of comments. One is just a reminder that October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month. Also, this evening, we begin the acknowledgement of dyslexia by lighting the front of the town hall in red. And also a reminder to anyone who uses our dog park, just to make sure, please, that children under the age of 12 are not inside the fenced-in area. And Councillor Olson, may I have the treaty acknowledgement and moment of reflection, please?
We would like to respectfully acknowledge that Quispamsis exists on the traditional territory of the Wolastoqiyik, Maliseet, and Mi'kmaq people whose ancestors along Passamaquoddy tribes signed peace and friendship treaties with the British Crown in the 1700s. We would like to take this moment to pay respect to the elders, past and present, and the descendants of this traditional territory. And may we remind ourselves of the important work we have before us tonight. May we make good decisions without prejudice or bias, and always in the best interests of our community, which we are here to serve.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. Looking for a disclosure of interests. There are none. Moving on to number 5, presentations. This evening we have Hammond River Angling Association, Crowley's Pool, and Stock Farm Road Restoration Project. Is there someone here to speak on Crowley's Pool? Is that virtual? Okay.
Hello?
Hello, we hear you.
Hi. Awesome.
Welcome.
I have a PowerPoint. If I screen share?
Yes, we are.
Wonderful. Here we go. So good evening, everyone. My name is Sarah Blinas. I am the project coordinator for the Hammond River Angling Association. And thank you to the Town Council for allowing me to speak and present this topic tonight. I really appreciate it. This is a project proposal entitled Crowley's Pool Collaborative, a multi-partner approach to research, restoration, and eco-hydraulics to address critical habitat and multiple species at risk. This will be a 4-year project if it's approved, and it will take place in the lower Hammond River watershed along the Stock Farm Road. This area is a critical holding pool for Atlantic salmon, American eel, striped bass, all of which are species at risk. Crowley's Pool is currently infilling with sediment. The sediment that is depositing into the pool is decreasing Atlantic salmon spawning habitat. The erosion that is occurring there is also allowing for sediment transport to be carried down into the lower Hammond watershed and into the mouth of the Kennebecasis, which is a critical overwintering habitat for short-nosed sturgeon and yellow lamp mussels, which are both species at risk. So as climate change continues and the flooding events and severe spring freshets increase, the riverbank around Crowley's Pool is continuing to degrade, and that's also putting the Stock Farm Road at risk. We believe that this project will be mutually beneficial both to the town through the remediation of the erosion that is occurring here, but also to the many aquatic species at risk that are in Crowley's Pool. We also think that this project would be a great fit for the town's climate adaptation plan. So as you can see here, this project meets several of the climate adaptation plan's actions. This project will incorporate climate change resiliency and nature-based solutions to decrease erosion and sedimentation that is occurring in the river, while reinforcing the road's infrastructure and restabilizing the banks. This project will also identify and monitor critical habitats experiencing stress from climate change. So this will be a 4-year project. And year 1 will be spent consulting with all of our various partners, including the town of Quispamsis, local residents, and the whole first year will be creating the plan and the design for the restoration efforts. At the same time, we're going to begin our research, monitoring, and outreach program. Year 2 will be reconstructing Crowley's Pool and addressing the erosion concerns. We're going to continue with the research, monitoring, and outreach program. And year 3 and year 4 will just be to address any other potential issues that have come up with the pool, and an analysis of our data and publication of our findings. This program will also have a lot of volunteer opportunities, community engagement, things like riparian planting, doing our Atlantic salmon red counts, water testing with our water rangers kits. And these are just a couple of the things that we can incorporate as well into this to really engage the surrounding community. Oops. So far, the estimate for this project is somewhere between the $300,000 to $450,000. And that's just for the restoration work, not for any of the monitoring and research. So right now the price might go up a little bit from here. And this will be through the Canada's Nature Fund. They also require 50-50 matching funds. So whatever we ask from them, we also have to come up with as an organization. So that's kind of why I'm here today, to see if the town council would be willing to consider supporting this project. Any financial assistance from the town council or a local community would be hugely appreciated. Even if it's $50 a year, it all makes a big difference to really try to get this project done. So thank you. Did anyone have any questions?
Thank you, Ms. Blinas. I will open the floor now for questions or a motion. Deputy Mayor Schreier.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Ms. Blinas, sorry. I'm just wondering, like, how many kilometers are we talking about when you're referring to the banks and the Stock Farm Road?
Okay. Right now, the erosion is spanning approximately 100 meters along Stock Farm Road. We're also in the just early stages of getting another assessment. I know that the original report through Dylan was attached in the agenda. We're also getting an updated version that is in the works right now that will really narrow down like how much is going to be restored.
And just a follow-up question, at what location on the Stock Farm Road are we talking? Are we talking at the entrance right across from Hammond River Angling Association? Or I don't have a map here or to
Sure.
see exactly where it is.
Yeah, it's near where you're talking about. Are you familiar with the little cemetery on Stock Farm Road?
Yes.
Yes, it's that bank going right by that cemetery.
Thank you. Councillor Donovan, please.
Thank you very much. I didn't have any questions. I just wanted to say you presented really well, and hopefully we can help you out sometime soon. Thanks.
Awesome. That would be awesome.
Thank you, Councillor Donovan. Councillor Miller, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for your presentation. I got a couple of questions here if you bear with me. Has this remediation been done elsewhere, and what has been the success of this? That's question number one. The reason I'm also asking this, I'm not a big salmon fisher, but my father-in-law has a little Jack Louis pool in the Petit Grand Cascapedia. So just as this year, it's been there for 100 years. Due to major ice flow and everything else that came down there, it filled it in totally, that I don't know if things could stop. So I want to kind of understand this is a lot of money for a pool, which I get, but has this been done in the past and has this been successful? I guess that's question one. I'll let you go with that, then I got a couple of others.
Sure. These types of projects have been done before. They're usually done with a combination of riprap and planting. I could probably get back to you with some examples in New Brunswick. I don't know exactly where off the top of my head, but I am familiar that these projects have occurred before, and with success as well as decreasing the erosion. Um, I could get back to you if that's all right as an answer to your first question.
Yeah, okay, thank you. That's perfect. Also in the presentation, when I read through it, part of it is because of the erosion of the banks, which I fully understand. And being on that sharp corner where it is, when you do have large runoff or debris coming in, whether it's stumps or you know, I've seen boulders, different places, but especially stumps there. How much do we know is from debris that's coming from the bank? Because there's also debris coming just down the river. So how are you going to stop that coming in? Because doing the bank will help with the bank, but if it's a pool and there's still debris coming down throughout the rest of the river, it's still going to fill it up. So that was it. And I'll give you the last question at the same time. So I think I know, but I think Crowley Pool, I believe it's open to the public. It's not a private, like it's not just for you know, people that sell fishing, like again, where my father-in-law is. I mean, people that actually, outfitters go there and charge people to go there. So Crowley Pool is open to everybody. I guess that's just a quick question. And you're shaking your head yes. So
Yes, it is open
yeah.
for the
So
public.
I guess it's how do we stop the other debris coming down? And my fear is we fix the erosion from the wall, from the bank, but if everything's still coming down river from elsewhere, whether it's runoff from the nearby fields or runoff from other construction up the road and it fills it in, we're stuck again. So thanks.
Sure. That's something that we're looking into as part of the monitoring program. We're looking at doing a really in-depth sediment and erosion rate transfer study that will not be limited to just Crowley's Pool. It will be going up further in the river to determine other potential areas that could be contributing to stumps or additional erosion. That way we know if there are other areas beyond just the scope of this that also need to be addressed to ensure that what we're doing is actually going to work.
Thank you. Councillor Thompson, did you?
Yeah. Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Sarah. I don't know if you probably remember me or not, Beth Floyd.
Hi.
Hi.
Do you remember you?
Thompson now, of course. Thank you very much for your presentation. Very informative. And I would like to, if I may, propose a motion at this time, just to get sort of this on there. I would like to thank Ms. Belinas for her presentation, and council issue a letter to the Hammond River Angling Association in support of their application for funding under the Canada's Nature Fund for Aquatic Species at Risk program for the remediation of Crowley's Pool, and also offer in-kind technical services and information related to GIS mapping, provision of data, etc., and council refer any potential financial contributions to the 2023 budget process, following an update from the Hammond River Angling Association as to the full cost analysis after year one of the project.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. It's been moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Donovan. On the question, please vote now. Motion carried, 7-0. Thank you very much, Ms. Belinas, for your presentation this evening and for your time here with our councillors.
Thank you all very much, and I look forward to continuing to consult with the town of Quispamsis as we move forward on this project. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you. Have a good evening.
You too. Bye.
We'll move on now to number 6, public hearings. Seeing there are none. Item 7, minutes of the previous meeting. Looking for a motion. Deputy Mayor Schreier.
So moved?
Moved by Deputy Mayor Schreier, seconded by Councillor Donovan. On the question, seeing there are none, please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. Moving on to item number 8, unfinished business. 8A, June 15th, 2021. Mr. Brian Gillis, Active Transportation Safety for Cyclists in attendance. Mr. Gillis, would you like to come to the podium, please? Would you please state your name and address clearly for the clerk?
Brian Gillis, 402 Gondola Point Road.
Rosse or Quispamsis? Thank you. You may begin. We have a 10-minute timer on your presentation.
Good evening. I hope you had the opportunity to review the literature that was sent along with this program. A little bit of history to begin with. September 2009, I presented to council here, and the day before in Rosse, the title of the presentation was Bicycle Friendly Kennebecasis Valley. The request was the same as it is tonight. Please build safe cycling infrastructure. Wayne was doing the same thing, except in a different method. He was approaching the elected representatives one at a time and asking the same question. Both of us had input into the active transportation plan for Quispamsis. We also joined the New Brunswick Cycling Coalition, and we're lobbying the provincial government to modify the Motor Vehicle Act to get better safe rules written in so we can do some more education. The 1 meter law that we have now is part of that lobby. We've presented several times in the last 12 years to council here and in Rosse, again with the same theme, please build safe cycling infrastructure. Tonight, we'd like to pass the torch to the Active Transportation Committee that I understand is being established here. I trust that committee will contain compassionate, passionate people from the council, engineering staff, and cycling citizens that have the drive to push the active transportation system forward in this community. And they must have input into the master transportation plan that apparently is on the go right now. And let me explain why. And there's really no way of sugarcoating what I'm going to say. I reviewed the active transportation plan on the weekend, and then I did a survey of all the roadways that were part of the main infrastructure in the active transportation plan. And I can assure you that no safety has been added to any infrastructure in this community in the 12 years since I made my presentation in September 2009. None of the installations will pass muster with TAC guidelines, TAC being the Transportation Association of Canada. Now, I do sympathize with whoever it was that was tasked with implementing the system. The Active Transportation Plan is a bear of a document. It's full of contradictory statements, and you have to weed your way through that and decide what is the right thing to do from a safety point of view for the people. There was one glimmer of hope, and that's the QR line, a brilliant piece of work. That has the potential of linking everyone in the Kennebecasis Valley with mostly an off-road system. And I want to mention now, in case I run out of time, the current work that's being done with the sewage system going from Hillhurst over the hill to the sewage lagoon. That would be an ideal connection between the Great Trail, the Trans-Canada Trail, and the QR line. amazing. If we can make that happen, if council has any influence at all on whoever it is that's involved in that and the relative land pieces, please, please forge ahead with it. It would be an amazing link. So the QR line, if we can get Rosse to get moving, and if you have any influence on that, please push Rosse to do their section of this. It can tie 11 schools, 6 playing fields together with mostly off-road infrastructure. However, we need on-road connections. And of course, that's what this is all about tonight, trying to make the on-road connections. So active transportation is human-powered locomotion from one spot to another, to a destination, not recreation. You're going to that recreation area. So how do you get the 10-year-old from Lakefield Elementary to the soccer field at the French School? So how do you get from Gondola Boulevard to Hampton Road? E-bikes, as I call them, the great equalizer, are going to cure most of the problems with that. Lots of hills in the communities, but e-bikes, they're on the road now, and they're going to get more and more prevalent. So I'm hoping that we'll be proactive rather than reactive. We need to get the infrastructure in place before we're inundated with these methods of transportation. So if we could go to slide 1, please, or picture 1. Oh, there we are. So this is Pettingale Road. We're talking about lane width here. So the TAC Geometric Design Guide for Canadian Roads and page 18 on your active transportation guide indicates that wide lanes promote speeding. So we talk a lot about traffic calming in our area. If you want to calm traffic in an area like this, we should be adding bike lanes. And if you go to the active transportation plan and look at paragraphs 2.2.3, 2.4.1, 2.7.1, they tell us to add bike lanes on Pettingill Road, Vincent Road, sorry, this is Vincent Road, and Hampton Road. So if we go on to paragraph, or page 2, please, or the picture 2. So this is a bicycle glyph. The glyph is a painted symbol on the road. It's supposed to indicate the location on the pavement where cyclists are to be. But more importantly, it's supposed to indicate the motorists that there will be or expect to be cyclists in this area. This is for a share road condition where they're both using the same space. When I say more importantly for the motorist, the angle that you look at it when you're driving in the vehicle, it makes it far less visible if the symbol is not elongated. So if you go to page 61 of the active transportation plan, it gives you the dimensions on how the symbol is supposed to be painted in an elongated format, so you actually pick up on it easier when you're driving your vehicle. But it's also a bold indicator that there's going to be bicycles here. So rather than having a tiny little pits off to the side, we've got a bold indicator that, yes, we want cyclists here. We endorse cyclists to be in this area. And a sidebar to that, there's no roadside signs that indicate that this is a share road condition, as the TAC documents require, or recommend, I should say. So on to slide number 3. This is Quispamsis Road. And according to the active transportation plan, this is the main link between Gondola Point and Quispamsis proper, or the way Quispam used to be. Now, there might be another plan on the go that I don't know about, but Quispam just spent a lot of money rebuilding this. It was done in phases by the looks of things. And I understand budgeting and whatnot, so we build it a little bit at a time. But we're supposed to be building infrastructure here to encourage people to actually use something other than a motor vehicle to get to where you want to go. So it behooves me to understand why this picture was built to the absolute minimum standards for a share road condition, and why wasn't it built to have bicycle lanes or a bicycle track off to the side, and raised sidewalks for the safety of the pedestrians. If you go on to slide number 4, which is the next one, this is the same road, the other end of it, so the top of Quispamsis Road. The situation is the same here, except the pavement is quite a bit wider. In fact, it's wide enough that if the walking section on the right-hand side, I assume that's supposed to be a walking section, if it wasn't there and we moved the center line over, then we would have enough space to put a bike lane on either side. Incidentally, if you look at the Motor Vehicle Act for New Brunswick, it goes out of its way to suggest that you shouldn't be walking in the same direction as traffic. If you're on a paved surface where you don't have the protection of a raised sidewalk, you should walk facing traffic. So I want to end on something positive. The QR line. It really is the backbone of the infrastructure, the active transportation infrastructure in the area. So how do we get the students from their school to the QR line? And if we can get the students to the QR line, then everybody else will be easy to get there, because presumably we'll develop infrastructure to suit them better. So we appeal to the council to ensure that active transportation is in the budget for next year, and it's a line item that has cycling safety goals written beside it. And we'd like to ensure that the master transportation plan actually has active transportation as the lead rather than the follow. And we're quite serious in our presentation when we offer to take council members out on the road for a ride. We feel it's imperative, if you really want to understand what it's like to try to use active transportation in Quispamsis, you got to get on a bike and get out there. And it'll help dramatically, I hope, when it comes decision time as to what you want to spend the money on. As you might have guessed, I could talk forever on this, so I'm going to hang around until after the meeting is over if anyone wants to continue to have the discussion.
Mr. Gillis, thank you very much for your presentation. Obviously, a lot of work and study and research has gone into your presentation this evening. I have Councillor Miller who would like to make a statement.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Gillis, for your presentation yet again. The amount of time and effort and simply laying it out was very, very well done. We've talked a little bit about these things in the past as far as the Vincent Road as well. I mean, it's the same size in Quispamsis as it is in Rothsay, yet Rothsay has the bike churros and we don't. And your timing's actually pretty good in my opinion, since we are at our budget meetings this Saturday and we are talking about different roads to be resurfaced next year. Meanan's Cove Road being one of them on the list as well. Obviously not all in one year. It would be a multi-year phase, but you know, as you had pointed out, there has been some changes over the last few years. I mean, what you're just talking about as far as moving painting around and things like that, you know, those are very interesting, and I think we'll be up for debate and discussion this Saturday. So I just want to thank you for your work and effort and the timing, and again, the timing for this is actually, in my opinion, quite good for Saturday. So thank you.
Good.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Councillor Luck.
Thank you, Your Worship. First, I want to thank Mr. Gillis for taking time to come tonight and help us better understand how we can continue to improve our active transportation infrastructure in our community. It is definitely something I hold near and dear to my heart. Active transportation does need to be top of mind in our infrastructure decisions we make to live our town's vision of being a forward-thinking community where families enjoy a safe, friendly, and active lifestyle. We also know accessible and safe active transportation encourages healthy behaviors and helps minimize our carbon footprint, so it's a win-win all around. So as I read your submission, I did have a few thoughts that I did want to share. First, as Councillor Miller mentioned, I agree your timing is very good as we head into our budget session later this week. I hope the insights you shared and the ones we gained will help guide us in making evidence-informed, proactive decisions with the view of not just now, but thinking about how decisions today will impact us down the road. Your point about e-bikes did not go unnoticed. I think we need to consistently consider how technology and our increased awareness of carbon emissions, not to mention the price of gas, will change how we move around in our town. I would love to see more people walk, bike, and roll to run errands in the future, and I believe this can happen. Secondly, as you mentioned in your submission, recreation is not the same as active transportation. Connectivity is key. I've lost count at the number of colleagues and friends that will only ride their bike off-road due to not feeling safe to ride on the roadside. Don't get me wrong, I think activity of any kind is wonderful, but I also use this to highlight your point regarding recreation versus active transportation and connectivity. As a town, we need to always be thinking how we support our residents to get around our town. So kids getting to schools, as you pointed out, running an errand, even going for an ice cream. And doing this not only by using motorized vehicles. I personally think we can do better in this regard. Thirdly, something else that struck me as I was reading your submission was your suggestion of relooking at the width of our roadways and where we paint lines on our roads, especially since current evidence suggests narrower roadways help with traffic calming and challenge more traditional roadway design. Hearing that other communities have similar road widths, similar width roadways, but are able to incorporate bike lanes also had me intrigued. I'm sure many councillors would agree that traffic calming is a huge issue in our town that we hear about on a daily basis. So thank you for suggesting that there might be a synergistic way to address this problem while also supporting safer active transportation at the same time. After reading your submission, I went down the rabbit hole exploring the Transportation Association of Canada website, as well as exploring what other municipalities are doing in regards to active transportation. One very interesting article I found, published by the National Collaborating Centre for Health Public Policy, suggested reducing traffic lanes to widths of 3 meters in urban environments, including cities, suburbs, and villages, would achieve the goal of 1, reducing motorized traffic speeds, and 2, enabling public space to be reallocated to other uses, specifically in order to make active transportation safer and more pleasant. The Institution of Transportation Engineers also supports that reducing the width of streets or traffic lanes allows for reduction in motorized traffic speeds, and a linear relationship has been shown between lane width and the speed at which 85% of vehicle traffic is driven. And I am almost finished. So according to the study, it showed that actually reducing the width of a road by 0.5 meters, so going from 3.5 meters to 3 meters, actually showed an average reduction in speed by 7.5 kilometers per hour. I thought that was quite remarkable. And lastly, you have invited council and staff to ride or walk along with you so we can better understand the issues from a cyclist perspective. A walk or ride in your shoes, as you said in your submission. I want to thank you and also Mr. Aerosmith for offering such an important opportunity. As a researcher in my other life, I can attest seeing issues from the user's perspective is truly a key to understanding these issues, and I would be honored to bike or walk whenever you want me to go, so just let me know. I've learned a great deal tonight reading your submission about alternative options for our streets that could improve our active transportation, as well as support traffic calming. So I just wanted to thank you again for all the hard work you put into the presentation. I thought it was very, very informative, and I really enjoyed reading it, so thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Luck. Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you so much for your presentation. It was, really well done and very informative. I find it exciting to, see someone so passionate about something such as active transportation. I agree with you that the QR trail has been a very valuable investment for us, and it's a trail I use often, actually. I know active transportation will be a vital aspect of our growth as a community, and while I can't answer all of your questions for all of us, I can commit myself to actually going out on a walk to investigate some of the areas you mentioned, and you have my word that I actually will do that. So thanks again for taking the time to talk to us this evening. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Donovan. There is a motion. Somebody would like to Councillor Thompson, please.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you, Mr. Gillis, for your presentation. I would move that council at its June 15th, 2021 meeting referred the consideration, June 15th, okay, referred the consideration for active transportation infrastructure, including sidewalks, bicycle, and pedestrian lanes, as well as community walkability. I don't understand that date.
It was the motion, Councillor Thompson, that was made on June 15th when I believe Mr. Aerosmith made a presentation.
Okay.
So it was referred for consideration for active transportation infrastructure, including sidewalks, bicycles, and pedestrian lanes, as well as community walkability so it was referred to the town's master transportation plan.
And the town's strategic plan, as these are all important components to the town's strategic planning and determination of level of services discussions.
It's been moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Bigger. On the question, seeing there are none, please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. Thank you very much, Mr. Gillis, for being here this evening. Moving on to correspondence, Mr. Brian Conley, I believe his wife may be on screen regarding Longbow Place.
I am.
Welcome this evening, and you may begin your presentation. Please give your name and address for the town clerk.
It's Pamela White, and my address is 103 Longbow Place, Quispamsis, New Brunswick. But I am speaking not just for myself, but my neighbors as well. We're actively getting a petition together because we are in a mess here. And I'm not sure how we can work together to maybe try to come to a resolution, if there's anything you can even do. But I guess I'll just start at the beginning. Is we have a rat problem, and it's not a isolated rat problem. We have no derelict houses. It is a massive rat problem here. Matter of fact, I killed one recently that was about probably 2.5 to 3 pounds. They're huge. They're wharf rats. And their children next door were actually outside the other day, and there was a rat ran right through the children's feet. Now that they've done the work down on the road just beside me, it stirred them up even more. But we're under siege. You can't leave your screen doors open because they'll chew right through your screen doors and come in the house. They have chewed all the bottoms of all of our garbage cans, the ones that are provided by the city. We have no bottoms left in our garbage cans. And it's out of control. I mean, they're destroying our sheds. They chew holes through everything. They try to chew through your door in the basement, not just mine, but other neighbors as well. I'm concerned for several reasons. One, because they do chew so much that eventually they're going to start chewing on something which is going to burn someone's home down, or somebody's going to get bit, hopefully not a child. And they spread disease, of course. I did talk to the Ministry of Natural Resources. The gentleman was out actually with the deer, and he said the problem is that when the rats move in, and you don't see anything else like raccoons or anything, that's a good indicator that you're overrun. I mean, we'll see them running across the road in broad daylight. So I talked to an exterminator, and they said that the issue here is that they need to do a blanket cleanup because me putting out poison, my neighbors putting out poison, then we're kind of taking a risk of poisoning other wildlife, and it's not cleaning it up. The other problem is that the exterminator did say that what is available to the layman is they're pretty much immune to it, as did my vet, because I called the vet as well to see if they had anything on the farm end of the vet. They said the same thing, that they're immune. So I don't know what to do. My neighbors don't know what to do. Like I said, we can't even keep a garbage can. So I'm not sure where we go from here.
Thank you, Ms. White. I can appreciate
We're
that
under
you,
siege. Like, you can't live like this. You can't open a basement window. You can't. You just. I was sitting on the doorstep one evening, and a rat came right up beside me. Like, we're under siege.
okay, thank you very much for your presentation. The Deputy Mayor would like to speak to this. Deputy Mayor Schreier?
Yes, thank you very much for your presentation. It's not a very happy presentation for you, and I'm very sorry for yourself and the neighbors that are going through this. I was going to ask a couple of questions to our engineering department about the work that was just completed on Scarlet and how that might have affected things, or if that has any effect. And I guess the next question I would have, then I'm not sure that we can answer this as a council, is if you've contacted public health regarding
No.
the.
Oh, sorry. I don't. Oh,
Yeah,
sorry, I can't see you, so my apologies.
That's
I'll
okay.
just
That's
thank
okay.
you.
I'm just curious as to know if you have contacted public health, and so you said the answer is no?
No, not at this time. The first thing I did was when I spoke to the Ministry of Natural Resources, and then I called the local MP, and they directed me to call you. That's kind of how the procession happened.
Okay, thank you. So I'll direct my first question back to the Director of Engineering about the work on Scarlet and how that might have affected things, if we think it did, in fact. Thank you.
Your Worship, on Scarlet, what we did, we replaced a large diameter drainage culvert and the embankments associated with it. So we replaced some poorly corroded concrete pipe and some gabion retaining walls that were holding the side banks in place. A new pipe was installed, the bank was re-established and hydroseeded and sprayed for erosion protection, and there's trees planted in that area. I don't have any reports from our contractors or our staff of hitting any sort of a nest or anything of that nature. That's not to say that the work scared inhabitants of the area and pushed them around, but there was nothing significantly obvious that occurred during the construction time. So from our past exposure to similar situations throughout the town, usually if there is a disturbance, the rats will move to what they perceive as sources of food. When the food is removed, they generally move on, or they relocate back to where they were before. Again, as the resident has indicated, sometimes the individual homeowners will undertake some type of a pest control program, and what we're being told, what she's relayed to us about the level of rat poison that's required is that they're becoming adapted to it, or they're not as effective. That's why the professional pest control options seem to be preferred in a lot of locations. From the town's perspective, we don't deal directly with nuisance animals such as rats, pigeons, seagulls, things of that nature. It does become a private residence issue. And normally what happens is there's a bit of an education program where I think as Ms. White just mentioned, all of the neighbors have to be on the same page. You have to have a sort of almost a blanket approach to make sure that everybody's doing something, because if there's one area that somebody leaves garbage out in a bag on the side of the road and not have it properly contained, it's the rats are food driven more so than anything else. So that's the main control that we've been advised through DNR, through our Solid Waste Association, through other communities that we've investigated the issue with. It always boils back to what is there as a food source, and that could be everything from seeds on the ground from a bird feeder to apples that are falling out of a tree, things of that nature. And once they establish themselves looking for food, even if they've been relocated from other areas, once the food source is gone, then they move on. Other than that, as Ms. White indicated, the eradication through a professional pest control is the other alternative. But unfortunately, from the town's perspective, we don't have any programs that undertake that type of a nuisance animal removal. It's generally referred back to the residents to try to get something together as a group, Your Worship.
The thing is though that we have tried this, and we're not defeating this. I mean, everybody here is on board. The problem is that it's now such a large amount that there's no way that we're going to get this under control on our own. And like I said, I'm really concerned that, like, the other day there was an 11-year-old child where the rat ran right through her feet. I'm concerned that somebody's going to get bit, and we can't even keep a garbage can, which is maybe we're kind of in a kind of a catch-22 here, because the deer steal. When you put the garbage out, you'll see the deer running down the road with your bags of garbage. So you go to get them, or if you can catch them in time, or they'll tear up all the garbage, of course, which is bringing the rats. So we're kind of in this circle. And I mean, I didn't know if there's anything you can do to help us, but I just don't want to see some kind of disease break out here because of this. And we can't do it on our own. We've tried. Everybody's got together. We all had poison put down. Like we're doing our best, but it's not enough.
So, Ms. White, I'm just wondering, you just said that sometimes garbage is left out on the side of the street if it's
for garbage pickup.
The day the garbage is picked up.
Yeah, you can't even, yes, you put it out and the deer will literally be right there. And we were chasing a deer down the road the other day to get our garbage packed, which sounds ridiculous, and then if we don't catch it in time, like you put it out and you go to, like the example, next door neighbor, they put their garbage out, they went to work. As soon as they were gone, the deer tore it all up everywhere. Of course, that's bringing rats again. So, and our bottoms of our garbage cans are all gone, and it's a never ending story. We could replace them 10 times. It's not going to matter because they take those big, thick, heavy garbage pails and eat the bottoms out of them. So we have no way to, keep the garbage inside. You've got to put the bags out because you can't put the garbage cans out because we have to keep getting them replaced to a point where now they're not going to replace them any longer because the garbage the bottoms have been ate by the rats. So we're really kind of in a mess here.
Yes, I can appreciate that. And I certainly appreciate that if garbage is left out of a bin, it's going to be open to crows, deer, raccoons, rats, and any other animals. So that's key to mobilize your neighbors to, certainly bin their garbage and to mobilize them to all be on that same page that any efforts are together, that the street has to work together on this. So I'm going to go to the next person in line. I believe it's Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Your Worship. Thank you for the information. I wish I could tell you that rats are new here, but they're not. I've been dealing with rats. Our neighbor's been dealing with rats for over 5 years. So we did get all of our neighbors together. Some hired exterminators. I used rat traps. I actually caught some rats that were bigger than my foot, then plus the tail. So at first I thought I caught somebody's cat. So they're big. And some of the things that we did, and some people use exterminators. Other of us use different things. But one thing we did stop, or at least our neighbors stopped doing, and we still have rats in our neighborhood, by the way, but very few now, is we don't compost. If it's chicken, it's going out in whatever it is, garbage day. They did eat a hole in my compost bin. Fun Day Waste does replace those for free. There's actually a little checkbox you can say a rodent ate a hole through, and they'll replace it. it's not a fun thing to go through, and I know what you're going through because we've gone through it. We still see the odd rat once in a while running around. A cat will be chasing it or what have you. It's a very tough situation, especially speaking in my neighborhood. There's multiple pets, so you got to be careful where you put. For those that are using
Absolutely.
the poison. I mean, I was fortunate. We had some snow, and I saw where the rat was coming from. So I waited till all the pets were in bed, put it out that late at night with a little bit of peanut butter and cheese, and got him the next day. Actually, I didn't get him the first 2 times because I used a mouse trap, and then I used a rat trap and found out how big he was. So, and he also ate part of my car that was a $6,000 fee to fix my wiring. So I don't compost stuff anymore, or very few. Stuff that is edible goes in the freezer till compost day or till garbage day. It stays in my garage freezer till that day. And like I said, I live not far away from you. We all live pretty close. We're in Quispam. I'm up in Woodley Park area. So, and there's still people that are battling that. So we've got ours, I would say, under control. I don't think from a town that it's something that is done. I did see some newscasts last year on Moncton, but I think the province got involved at that time because I believe it was public housing, if I'm corrected. But they were run over by rodents there. So it's a tough battle, and yeah, 'cause I don't know if there's anything a municipality does for this. So deer is a
Is there
whole different
some,
issue, but.
is there better garbage cans that we can get that they're not just going to keep blowing through these? Because my last call to get my garbage replaced is that they will only do it X amount of times, and we were at our limit because of the chewing of the bottom of the can.
Ms. White, I'm just going to give you some information from Brenda McCullum, and
Okay.
she is the Public Relations and Program Officer with Fundy Regional Waste.
Okay.
So she said that for an issue like this, garbage should be stored and sealed and covered in a container. Backyard compost piles can be a problem as a source of food if the food is not buried in yard waste. So make sure that only fruits and vegetables are in backyard compost piles and that there are no fats, meat, fish, bread, or grain products in your backyard compost. So I don't know if your neighbors have backyard compost, but this is just a suggestion. She also
Yeah,
said
we
that
all eliminated the
they
compost.
also recommend continuing to place food scraps in the supplied green carts. If rats are getting into the green cart, it will be apparent by chew holes. A couple of suggestions would be to add lots of yard waste, your leaves and so forth, to help absorb the smells. If the vent holes at the bottom have been chewed through, stuff a rag soaked in bleach in the vent. It should stay affixed to the cart or still wool in the hole. She said they also heard from residents that shaved Irish Spring soap works well to deter them. And she also gives her website that you can go to, or you can go online actually and find that for Fundy Recycles. And as Councillor Miller suggested, freezing smelly food scraps such as meat and fish until collection day. And if possible, to rinse your cart on collection day with detergent or a small amount of bleach. So there are a few things that, you know, if people are working together, those suggestions might be helpful. So I'm going to go now for a motion. I would suggest, though, that you do contact Fundy Waste, and as Councillor Miller suggested, your bin can be replaced by them. And there's a motion. Okay. So the correspondence that has been issued, there's a motion on the table. If anyone would like to read that. Thank you, Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I move that correspondence be issued to well, it says,
Mr. Conley or Ms. White?
yes. Responding to her concerns re a rat infestation problem in the neighborhood. The letter to acknowledge the town does not provide pest control services on private property, and it be suggested to the residents to either independently hire pest control services to kill rats or use rat trap devices, and or take measures to remove as many rat food sources from their property as possible, including keeping their garbage and compost in sealed containers in enclosed areas as per suggestions noted by Joe Kennedy, DNR, and Brenda McCollum of the Fundy Region Solid Waste Commission.
Thank you, Councillor Thompson. It's been moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Olson. On the question, Councillor Bigger.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to say thank you to Ms. White Conley for the information. I live on the top of Lionel, just down the road from you. And we have also, I just wanted to say, we have also dealt with a rat problem at times at our place. And they seem to sort of come in almost like an organized sort of military operation of some kind, a little squad of them. And in similar fashion to what Councillor Miller has said and what you've described, we, had to kind of rack our brains on how to deal with it. We found that, like what Councillor Miller has said, and it sounds like you have tried very hard to do what it seems like the right thing to do, and you've asked around and so on, and so I really deeply sympathize with you. We found that a bit of a lifestyle change was what it really took for us. We got a large cedar, roll away, big, it's like Mr. Dressup's tickle trunk almost, sort of big giant thing to put the garbage in that was weighty and heavy and so on, and they ate through the bottom of that, and then in the end I had to go buy those flat, sort of 2-inch tall square patio blocks and line the bottom of the thing with that. So that seemed to work, and freezing kitchen garbage until the day of. And we've just sort of never looked back from that. We did hire an exterminator who gave us some insight, and we actually had one get into the house, and it was, I had to set traps each night in the house, and we had a little dog, so we had to sequester him away so that the trap could be set all night, and it snapped a few times at 3 a.m, and I came out and the little bugger had gotten the peanut butter and taken off. And so it was terrible. It was a terrible situation. Eventually we got him, of course. But anyway, I just wanted to say that I have found as well that change of sort of lifestyle is something that has required a sort of diligence that just never stops. We sort of changed our habits, and we just had no choice but to continue that way. So I wish you the best of luck, but it's not as Councillor Miller says, it's not an uncommon thing, and it's not a new thing, and I'm sure you're aware of that, but I just wanted to add that bit. Thank you.
Thank you for
Councillor
that.
Miller. It's been moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Olson. On the question, please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. Thank you very much, Ms. White. You have a good evening.
Thank you, you too.
Item 7B, Councillor Olson, Chairman, Climate Change Committee. Councillor Olson, there's a motion there.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. I'd move Council accept the Climate Change Committee's recommendation that the benchmark report be referred to the strategic plan discussions to ensure language reflecting a smart energy community lens and climate change culture be incorporated into the town's new strategic plan.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. It's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Schreier. On the question, seeing there are none, please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. Item number 9C. This is the Regional Facilities Approved 2022 Budget as recommended. There's a motion here. Deputy Mayor Schreier.
Your worship, thank you. The town of Quispamsis, I move that the town of Quispamsis share of the regional facilities 2022 budgets be incorporated into the town's 2022 budget documents.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Schreier. It's been moved by Deputy Mayor Schreier, seconded by Councillor Thompson. On the question, Councillor Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship. I just have a quick question. I don't know if Krista is still with us. Okay.
Ms. Brandon, if you're there.
Yes, I'm here.
Thank you.
I just noticed it says see note below, and we don't have a note below. But the other question that I wanted to know is what was it? Trade and Convention Center, I think, or the Imperial. I just see that there's the surplus or the deficit from the second preceding year on the Aquatic Center. So that deficit, is that in this year?
Ms. Brandon. So Councillor Thompson, just to clarify your question, you want to know if the deficit that's showing is...
I'm sorry, my mic is not... There we go.
Go ahead.
It's on now.
Yes, it looks like the deficit coming from 2020 is reflected in there, and it also includes the note, which is the 325, which again I don't have on the copy that was given either, but I believe this item has something to do with the grant money that the Aquatic Center had received and will be potentially needing to repay that amount. So really what it looks like is they've just kind of netted those two together, and their funding is fairly consistent with what it was last year as well. But I can follow up with the City of St. John to get answers to some of those questions.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I was curious as to that 325 that it was in there, because that was the grant supposedly that they have to pay back. Our portion at the end of this for the 2021 is pretty consistent as it was last year. Because I think we're at what, 479,000.
Yes, and our proportionate share actually was 532,000 in 2021, so it actually has decreased significantly.
And Councillor Thompson, I can
Change from
speak
year to year.
I can speak to the $325,000 grant. That grant was applied for by the CEO of the Aquatic Center, and it was granted by the federal government. And lo and behold, it was later told, after the grant money was applied for and used, that they didn't qualify for the grant. So the federal government acknowledged them by giving them the grant and then decided after it was used that it was not available to them. It was, as I say, it was applied for in good faith. It was received and used during COVID, and a letter came after the fact that they were not eligible for that grant. So it was to the tune of $325,000. Okay. Where are we? Did we have a motion on that? I believe we're on the question. Okay, I don't have that in front of me. Just one second. Okay, so it was moved by Deputy Mayor Schreier, seconded by Councillor Thompson. On the question, Councillor Bigger.
Thank you, Your Worship. It's probably just a function of me being a recent addition to the council, but I noticed the amount that we annually support the St. John Trade and Convention Center with. And I guess a couple of things that stand out to me about that. First of all, that would fall under the management. I can't quite see, sorry. That would fall under the management and direction of the Hilton. Is that correct, or do they operate independently of the Hilton?
They manage the Trade and Convention Center. So the regional facilities have 5 facilities. The Trade and Convention Center is one of those, and it is managed by the St. John Hilton. So the money doesn't go to the Hilton as such. Our funding source would go to the activities at the Trade and Convention Center in order to have that operate.
And the TCC, in terms of it being supported by the regional municipalities, was part of the provincial mandate at one point. Is that correct? I see.
That's correct, Councillor Bigger. I believe it was a mandate back in 1998, and it was decided at that time by the government of the day that the region worked together to help to fund 5 facilities, and Trade and Convention Center, the Aquatic Center, TD Station, St. John Arts Center, and the Imperial. So we contribute to the funding of those each year, as mandated by the province. Did you have something further to?
One final thing. I'm sorry to go back and forth. Thank you. So I just would like to understand, and I can certainly find this out offline after tonight, but in perpetuity, just kind of for time immemorial? I mean, what if we make a determination at some point that that's not truly functioning? What if a facility becomes outdated in terms of its purpose that was once more keenly felt, and it becomes somewhat less sort of prescient or less vital in our estimation as a town? I assume it would require a change to some provincial legislation, but I just wonder if anyone ever has considered that. Thanks, that's it for me.
Well, trying to get your microphone there. Again, it was mandated by the provincial government. It's a funding contribution that we make on a regular basis. Certainly, the facilities that we're looking at are facilities that are used by residents within the region, and every one of those at some point has residents from each of their communities. So the communities that contribute to the funding are Rossay, Quispamsis, St. John, and Grand Bay Westfield. So I'm not sure exactly what your direct question is, Councillor Bigger. But as it stands right now, unless there's a change of mandate with the government, this is what we're mandated to do, and we can look into that further at another time. Councillor Thompson.
Yes, thank you, Your Worship. And to answer Councillor Bigger's question, have we ever looked into changes to this? Many, many, many times. We have written letters as a council to try to change the legislation, to no avail at this point.
Deputy Mayor Schreier, sorry.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just want to go back to the 300 and under the aquatic center. So am I correct in saying that normally our share would be around 325? Or that's the total share, but because of this grant that was taken back, the actual amount has doubled for the municipalities to pay? Am I reading that right?
Less than last year.
Your Worship?
Yes, Ms. Brandon.
I will just say that in 2021, our share of the aquatic center was the total for the aquatic center was 771,000. So it typically is around the $600,000 to $700,000 amount. So what we're paying here is still in alignment with that. And I have sent a note to the City of St. John just while we were discussing this to get more details on that note that they say is on there that we're not able to see.
Thank you, Ms. Brandon. Deputy Mayor Schreier.
Just a follow-up question then. So is there an opportunity for us or for the commission, Regional Facilities Commission, to appeal that amount of money that has been withdrawn by the federal government? What recourse do we have to get that money back?
There has been a letter sent by the CEO of the Aquatic Center and his board, under the direction of his board. So I don't know where that stands at this point, or if they've had a response to that. Certainly, as I say, when the application was made during COVID, it was responded to positively in that the $325,000 was handed over to the Aquatic Center in order to look after the needs during COVID at that time, and then it was reversed. So we need to get more information on that as far as what the response was from the letter that was sent to the federal government. Councillor Olson.
Okay, thank you. I was at some of those meetings, Your Worship, and I will say that that particular item was a contentious issue that had much discussion, and that the administrator of the Aquatic Center is following up on that at the direction of the commission members itself. So it's a contentious issue that has not been resolved yet, but there's active work being done on that.
Thank you for that information, Councillor Olson. On the question, it's been moved by Deputy Mayor Schreier, seconded by Councillor Thompson. Please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. Thank you. Item 9D. The Director of Community Services requests the waiving of some fees. Director, would you like to speak to that at all?
Your Worship, in front of council is a memo regarding the waiving of facility rental fees as part of our budget process annually. So we, as the memo states, we had a new policy in 2018 regarding the waiving of rental fees. And as part of this, it became a part of the budget process. So we advise groups annually when they have a request to submit an application, and staff review that application and make a recommendation to council. And this year for 2022, there are 3 requests: KV3C, the Royal Canadian Legion, and Canadian Blood Services.
Thank you very much. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Your Worship. I would like to move that the town waive the 2022 rental fees for Canadian Blood Services, KV3C, and the Royal Canadian Legion at the and the KV3C be allowed to begin their programs at the Qplex this fall.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. It's been moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Luck. On the question, Councillor Luck.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to ask a question around the Royal Canadian Legion. It looked like there was a memo that came in the day after the report that they're canceling the Remembrance Day. So will that, like, does that need to be put in the motion, or because there's nothing to be waived?
Go ahead.
So, Your Worship, the Remembrance Day ceremonies have been canceled for 2021, and the request is for 2022.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Schreier.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just, they're all great organizations, and I can see why we want to help them all succeed. One of the questions I have, though, is around the KV3C, and they would get the facility, the Moosehead Room, was it? Moosehead? Yes. Every second Friday for speakers. I just wonder about if we have people looking for that availability on, would there be any opportunities to have conversations with them if the dates can be changed so that there's a little bit of flexibility, because you know, you never know with the what's the Memorial Cup coming in, there could be an opportunity that we need the Moosehead Room for something, or so I just want to make sure that we have flexibility there to be able to move things around if we need to.
Yes, Your Worship, we would have that flexibility. And also, just as a reminder, they wouldn't use the whole conference center. So the Moosehead Conference Center is quite large, 4,000 square feet, and it's you can divide it up into 3 different spaces. So they wouldn't require the whole room for their speaker series. So we definitely expect that they would work with us for those type of events, or if we had a rental that needed to come in on a Friday, we would have that expectation that they would work with us for that, and I'm sure they will.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Luck.
Thank you, Your Worship. I do have one other question for our Director of Community Services. The KV3C, like I read in the report that you submitted, you know, it's really due to COVID because a lot of the venues that they typically use, they can't access because they can't get in. So I'm assuming like we are approving this for 2022, but you know, there is kind of a kind of written rule that, you know, this is not for the long term, this is for next year. And then, you know, we're not making any long-term promises in terms of having that space allocated. Like I'm assuming they'll continue to go back to churches and schools in the future.
Thank you, Councillor Luck.
Your Worship, these requests are made annually. To your point, this is one of the reasons why we brought this policy forward, because what would happen in the past is council would approve an organization to have space, and then the expectation was that it was in perpetuity. So we had quite a few. I believe my first memo, I think the number was like 34,000. It was quite significant, the number of dollars that we were donating back to our community groups, and we just felt that we wanted to summarize that amount and provide that to council so they were aware of that commitment, and then also put the onus back on the groups to come back to the town and make those requests on an annual basis, so that when we approve those, that it isn't in perpetuity, that they're reviewed every year, and that there's a process for that. So we will look at that annually.
Thank you, Director. Councillor Olson.
Thank you, Worship. Just a question to the Director of Community Services on a related item. We recently approved the use of the floor for an art exhibit on November 10th, and it was tied to the taking out of the boards for, Remembrance Day ceremony. Has there been any indication that they might cancel that because of the pandemic restrictions?
No, Your Worship, I haven't had an opportunity to reach out to the school yet. I was hoping to do that this week and have a conversation with them regarding the Remembrance Day event not happening and the current COVID conditions to see what their plan is with that. So I will follow up when I know more.
Thank you. And just to tie into that, Councillor Olson, I believe the memo of the cancellation of the Remembrance Day ceremony only came in yesterday. So thank you. Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Miller, seconded by Councillor Luck. On the question, please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. Item 10, bylaws, there are none. Item 11A, proposed 2022 civic relations. Councillor Thompson.
Yes, Your Worship. I would move that council accept the Finance Committee's recommendations as presented and indicated on the Civic Relations, Sponsorship, and Grants spreadsheet dated October 13th, 2021, and attached to the Town Treasurer's staff report, also dated October 13th, 2021.
Thank you. It's been moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Miller. On the question, Councillor Luck.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm not sure, because this is new to me, if we'll be doing more discussion around this on Saturday. But I did have a few questions, and I'm not sure who to direct them to. I believe Councillor Miller is the chair of the Finance Committee, so he might be able to give me some insight. And again, if this should be referred to Saturday, just let me know. In the summary document, it did state that we received 6 grant requests, which I think is wonderful, that every year we ask people if they're looking for money, they have to do a little bit of work up front. But one of the areas that I noticed didn't ask for a grant and we gave the money anyway was Crime Stoppers. Is that correct? So I kind of wanted to have a rationale for that. And then also just the other thing I noticed, and it's not a big amount of money, but I guess all of our pennies count, is in just previous, in a few items back in the Regional Facilities Commission budget, we're already committing over $50,000 to the St. John Art Center and another 86 to the Imperial. And I noticed that we're giving money to the St. John Theatre Company. So I guess those are the two that I just had some questions about. If you can answer, that'd be great. Thanks.
Thank you. Yes, so I'll answer them the best I can, and if for those that were at there, if I do go out of bounds, they can let me know. So the Crime Stopper. So every year there's also a change in personnel who applies for that too. So it generally comes in late. Crime Stoppers, historically they buy a board at the Qplex. So it's not actually a donate. What we're doing is we've always end up giving the board for that. So this one, you are correct. We had not received it yet. But when we're there as a group, we voted. Again, there's always changes on that board. It's Crime Stoppers. Assuming they go to buy a board again this year. A board on the arena. So in the rinks where they've got the advertising up. So we don't actually give them the money. It's they come to buy the board. We end up giving them the board for free. So definitely, and that one, if you want to discuss, no problem. And I've just given the rationale, so you can still ask to.
Excuse me, Councillor Miller, if I could just interrupt you for a second. Ms. Brandon, our treasurer, would like to speak also, and then I'll go back to you.
I can wait till Councillor Miller is done. That's fine.
My apologies, Councillor Miller.
Oh, no worries. And on the second one, you talked about the Imperial. The difference is Mr. Tobias, who in previous councils actually come and present it. Now people don't present; they send them in. This is not just for the Imperial Theatre. It's for the Imperial Theatre, but also the Imperial Theatre also works for a lot of the group from the Kennebecasis High School, a lot of Quispamsis residents, things like that. So that is why we voted for that. We did go through. There was many more here that were on the list that we didn't put in. And of course, if they didn't meet any of the criteria, they were out unless they were in the sponsorships above, right? So I'll let Ms. Krista go. Thank you.
Through you, your worship, too, just to Councillor Luck, some comment about discussion on this on Saturday. So with the civic relations, one of the processes that we implemented back in 2018 was to kind of remove this from the budget process, deal with it through the finance committee, go through the applications, which is what I go through all of them, detail if they meet the criteria or not, present these through to the finance committee at the first meeting in October that we have. We go through them, the finance committee goes through kind of line by line, determines what amounts that they are going to support. So really the discussion is up for debate for tonight for this. Once this motion is approved, it will become part of the budget process. We won't go back to this in the discussion on Saturday. Again, that's why we kind of set up the criteria and the process by which to evaluate all of these. The net change for this year is actually reducing the budget by $4,900 as compared to 2021. As you can see on the screen there, this budget is kind of designed and split up into 3 different areas where we have our civic relations piece. There's no change to that component of this budget. We have our sponsorship piece. Again, just a slight change there. And then we have the grants where everyone must apply for them. And again, there are the criteria. They must be a charitable organization. They have to provide their annual report. They have to provide their current year budget. All of that is taken into account when we go through and do this. To the question about the Crime Stoppers, yes, that is in essence an in-kind donation. So by that, there's no cash transferred, but we do put up their sign board for that and do a journal entry or an accounting entry to record that through this as a grant, because the finance committee deemed that that was an important component of our grants. So in essence, this will reduce the budget for civic relations and sponsorships by $4,900 as compared to the 2021 budget. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Brandon. Councillor Donovan.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. I have a two-part question here, or comment, I guess. I was kind of excited to see that the KV Oasis is receiving funding because as many people may know, they're going through some hard times right now. So that's always good to see, especially as, you know, an organization that provides or gives back so much to the youth of our community. And my second question is for the town treasurer. On the civic relations section, it has to be determined, and it looks like that's where the Riptide was, but it's no longer, and that we have $800 scheduled there. So where it says to be determined, if the town treasurer comes up in the future with something that she would like to delegate that $800 to, is it automatically approved, or will that have to come back to us to, you know, say, hey, this is what we're going to, you know, put this $800 towards? Or I realize it's not a lot of money, but I'm just curious as to what the process is for that.
Thank you.
Question too, just when she's done.
Thank you for the question. So for the first part of it, the KV Oasis, so again, we have heard that this organization is in some financial trouble. Accounting terms would be that potentially they're a going concern. So we did discuss this at the finance committee meeting, and what we are going to be doing is for this year splitting their payment into 2 different payments for them. One in January when we do most of all of our other grant submissions, and then other piece would be into July, just so that we know that the money that we are giving to them is going to an organization that is going to be continuing to be within our community. On the to be determined, just let me look at that. So there was discussion at Finance Committee regarding, so what we used to do with that is we'd have $800 and we would purchase St. John Sea Dogs tickets and then distribute them out to the schools. This is very much a very administratively process, and so there was discussion potentially of not doing this, but I myself wouldn't be kind of going through and making any recommendation. I wouldn't do any sort of change. If there was further discussion on what to do with that $800, we would come back to council, even though it is a small amount. Thank you.
Thank you. Going next in queue, Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. I'm just, for a little bit of clarity on, for Councillor Donovan, his question. So the $800 is for Sea Dog tickets. Where you see no more Riptide, it was actually in 2019. So it used to be $1,600. It went down to $800 in 2020. So, but since 2020 is still saying here that that comment is for 2019 moving to 2020. It's just because it shows the 3 years. Currently, we have been spending and have been, at least since I've been here, we purchased Sea Dog tickets. We end up giving them to the elementary schools and the local schools, and they administer them. The conversation was it's becoming maybe an administrative challenge as well for them. So that we still left the $800 in there for the Sea Dogs, but it was also to discuss with the schools and things like that. So Councillor Thompson or Mayor can also run in there. And for the Oasis, 100% agree that there's a lot of challenges going on with youth right now. A little bit of a real quick history is when KV Oasis first came out, it was initially we need money for the first year, that's it. We're self-sustaining, we don't need any more money. Then we gave $5,000 extra the next year. The fire department gave the gym equipment. We went up to $7,500 last year as well, and we've stayed at $7,500. So that's the you know, how much do you give, and what, we don't know, but you know, do we agree that it's definitely a worthwhile cause? 100%. Last year they got hit obviously by the fundraisers. Couldn't have as many. The selling of the clothes, I know selling of the tickets for the trailer didn't go as well as anticipated, and hopefully once we get out of this COVID, because some of their fundraisers were phenomenal. They were great raisers, so hopefully they'll be back to that. So those are my two comments on those two questions, but also just as an overall comment, this is the time if you don't want something in there and you want to put a vote out there to remove it, that's what you can do tonight as well. You can say, I'd like to remove this or change that and get everybody to vote. Just these things here are smaller in dollar value, but historically in our budget, when we were there on Saturday, this would take up like an hour and a half of our Saturday meeting. Then we'd get into the $2-3 million projects near the end of the day. So, but tonight's the night. If you really don't like something in there, speak up now and ask for it to be changed. So, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. Yes, it's Civic Relations is locked in after tonight. So if there is anything that you'd like to address or change, please speak now. I'm going to next in queue on the question. Councillor Bigger.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just a quick comment. I just feel I have to quickly just speak up, and as Councillor Donovan and Councillor Miller brought up about KV Oasis, it just really saddened me to discover as I went through this preparing that they're on the ropes as they are. And as you pointed out, of course, COVID has been particularly difficult for their efforts to raise money, and just really saddens me. And I just wish them all the best, and I hope that creativity and a quick end to the pandemic can sustain them, because it's a marvelous work, and we're blessed in our community to have it. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Bigger. Next in queue, Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'm going to take Councillor Miller up on that offer to dispute something. People may not agree with me, and that's okay. But I find it super strange that we're spending $2,000 on town pins. I understand they're, a good way to get the town out there and, our logo everywhere, but I don't know. It doesn't sit right with me that we're spending a good, like, it's not the end all be all, but $2,000 is $2,000. So I'm just wondering if there's any possible way we could better spend that $2,000 on some type of civic relation. Um, I don't even know. It just kind of, that was the one thing that I saw at the top of the list when I was reading, and it kind of struck me off guard. And that's all. Thanks.
Thank you, Councillor Donovan. Mr. Kennedy. Fine. Krista, go ahead. Ms. Brandon.
Hi, thank you, Your Worship. I will say that we typically have not spent that. We do budget for that so that we do have town pins, and I know we've just recently purchased some of the zipper pins that make it a little bit easier, but historically we have not spent what we have budgeted there, but again, it is a placeholder for if we do need those items that we can, but we typically have not spent that much money on pins.
If I may add to that, another thing, I visit schools when we're able to. I had daycares, children come here. In the spring, I had grade 3 and 4 students come to plant marigolds. So I typically will give them a zipper pole or a pin. I don't give the pins to the babies, to the little ones that come, but they love to have zipper poles on their little backpacks or on their jackets and that sort of thing. So it's a sense of pride, and it's a sense of sharing with them what our community is all about. So, Councillor Luck.
Thank you, Your Worship. I was just actually going to go circle back to the Crime Stoppers. I have no issue, especially since it's net zero. It doesn't cost us anything. That's my kind of spending. Is really about why we're capturing it as like a line item. When if we have the sign and we're literally just putting it back up every year, I just didn't know, because basically that money's not going to be spent, because even though we're saying it costs that, or we're budgeting for it, so I don't know. Could that be another $1,800 that potentially, and I don't know if I'm looking at the right spot. Crime Stoppers is, okay, $1,850. If that, so, okay. $1,875. If that could be something, again, it's, in the big scheme of things, it's not a very huge amount. But I just didn't know why we're capturing it. If it's going to be in kind, do we do that with the other stuff that we do in kind, like what we've mentioned earlier? We do? Okay.
I'm going to go to Ms. Brandon again.
Okay.
Ms. Brandon, please.
Sorry, yes, that's what I was going to say through you, Your Worship, is that we do try to capture all of those in-kind donations, because originally there also is the cost of getting the rink board and whatnot. So really what we do is we put the revenue in to the rink board revenue sign, and we record the expense here so that we're tracking actually what items we are giving in kind, because even though we are not giving them a cash donation, in kind donations are still important for us to be tracking.
Thank you. Councillor Olson.
Thank you, Your Worship. I'd just like to speak on behalf of Crime Stoppers. They've not always bought a board, and the monies, they're a big partner with our police department in solving crimes, and we don't want your name, we just want your information type of thing. So Crime Stoppers should be well supported by all of our municipalities. They do great work on a volunteer board, and as Councillor Miller has said, as with any volunteer group, they have changes in that, and they've lapsed into a comfort zone of putting their advertisement, which they're trying to get out to the general public, on the board at the Quispamsis Arena. I don't know if they do it down at the Ross State Arena or not, but they're a well respected and supported organization within our community.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. Councillor Donovan.
Thank you, Your Worship. This is just my last my last question here. Um, so I noticed in the sponsorship section, um, we have the KV Food Bank, and it's listed, as a finance committee recommendation of $1,000. So if it passed through the finance committee, then I'm sure then that's what they need. But if we're spending $1,000 on the KV Food Bank, and then maybe Rosse is spending $1,000, or I'm not sure how that works, but is that enough for them? Because I know that the KV Food Bank is well used, so I'm just not sure, because I don't use it, and I'm not on that committee or anything, so I don't know if that is actually enough for them, if they're struggling, if they need more money, or how that's playing it. Thank you.
Councillor Donovan, we do supply the building and the property, the parking, the snow plowing. The $1,000 came about as we had decided as council to forgo the mayor's levy on January the 1st each year, and that money is donated to the food bank. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Your Worship. Actually, I was going to repeat all those things that you just said, where the $1,000 came from, especially for those 4 new councillors that weren't around prior. And also, not only do we do the snow plowing and everything else, that building is actually owned by the town of Quispamsis. So we give the building, we do the snow plowing, and the $1,000, and I think we do the maintenance to that building as well. The $1,000 came from we used to have a mayor's levy every January 1st, where we'd come in here and serve food. People, we'd have basically the same amount of people come in that would come every year, and we decided as a council at that time that the money would be better, instead of us cooking food here, and that was better to give it to the food bank. So that's where the $1,000 came from. And I see Krista had her hand up, sorry.
Yes, Ms. Brandon?
I was just going to say what both the mayor and Councillor Miller have said of where the money came from. And we do, again, own that facility, maintain that facility, and we do share up to $6,000 of those costs with the town of Rosse as well. So again, the $1,000 was kind of a standing donation that we gave by not having the mayor's levy there anymore. So thank you.
Thank you. On the question, Councillor Donovan.
I have one more question. I promise this is it. I promise. So this question's for the treasurer, just because I'm really confused and I don't understand what's going on. So in the civic relations, we've got I know there's no finance committee recommendations for this year, but I don't understand what the 2020 election expenses is, because I know we've had $5,000 and it says that it's been carried forward or something of that matter, but I don't, if you could explain what the 2020 election expenses is.
Ms. Brandon.
Sure, Your Worship, through you. So when we do have a municipal election, it does cost us as a town some funds to be able to support that election. When the election did not happen in 2020 as it was budgeted, and then we knew that the election was going to happen in 2021, we wanted to make sure that we had some funds there to offset any of those costs. So in essence, what we did is the money was transferred into reserve at the end of 2020, and with a note that we would have that same expense in 2021, but we would have funding coming from reserve to offset any of those funds if we needed to. So really, it's just again, because our budget is a cash-based budget, just for us to be able to move the funds between year to year when the situation needs us to. And so again, because we did not have that election, we had those funds in there. We transferred that money to reserve. So in 2021, when I go through and look at all of our projections and where we're sitting as a town for our surplus, if I need to draw money from reserve at that point in time to fund any election expenses we have, I will do that. If we already have enough funds within the 2021 budget, I won't need to transfer those monies from reserve, and then it will just happen in 2021.
Thank you, Ms.
I hope
Brandon.
that answers your question.
Deputy Mayor Schreier.
Thank you, Your Worship. I just wanted to point out that last year was our last year for our $5,000 to Dalhousie Medicine, and that over the 10-year period, Quispamsis gave over $50,000 to Dalhousie Medicine. So I think that was a great initiative for the town to take, and I want to thank you for that. And I see that we will continue to support healthcare through the donation of $5,000 to the St. John Hospital Foundation. So I think that, again, is showing us our ability to work within for the greater St. John. And the health initiatives, of course, right now, we all know dear to our heart with COVID how important it is that we support our health centers, hospitals, and clinics, whatever, and our staff and the staff at every hospital that's working diligently to help us out here. So I just wanted to say how proud I am that we're able to do that. Thank you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Councillor Miller.
Thank you, Worship. I was just want to just finish one and part of the Councillor Donovan's question. So when you talk about the election expenses, one of those expenses that we have is what you went through when we all got sworn in. We then had our pictures taken and they redid all of our pictures and they put them up there. So that's part of that cost as well. So that's why it's only put during election years. So you've got some other expenses, but that's one of the biggest costs I'm looking at Krista, but that's one of the biggest costs that the town budget is for. So, and obviously there's going away gifts for some of the ones that are leaving as well. So thanks.
New business cards as well.
Yes.
Thank you, Councillor Miller. And Councillor Olson.
I thought I'd jump into all this too. I just wanted to make note that the Greater St. John Fieldhouse was supported by council for $7,500 a year over 4 years, and we donated $30,000, which shows our community involvement and support for a regional facility, which is to our credit, I think, when we look at these regional issues, and we have a long track record of supporting regional facilities.
Thank you, Councillor Olson. It's been moved by Councillor Thompson, seconded by Councillor Miller, to accept the Finance Committee's recommendations for civic relations. On the question, please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. The next item, number 12, under reports. Would anyone like to move to receive and file reports or any notifications on reports? Okay. Councillor Luck.
Thank you, Your Worship. I did submit a report. I'd like just to say a few words about it. October is Occupational Therapy Month, something that, again, is near and dear to my heart. I'm wearing my pin tonight. And I'd like to acknowledge that October is Occupational Therapy Month, and would like to submit the provincial declaration made by our Premier, Blaine Higgs. Occupational therapy is a regulated health profession concerned with promoting health and well-being through occupation by enabling people of all ages and abilities to overcome obstacles and participate in life's meaningful activities. So I would like to recognize all the amazing occupational therapists in our community and the integral role they play in healthcare delivery and wellness.
Thank you very much, and thank you to all the occupational therapists out there who are critical to the care of many. Councillor Olson.
Yes, I'd like to move we receive and file reports.
It's been moved by Councillor Olson to receive and file reports. It's been seconded by Deputy Mayor Schreier. On the question, Deputy Schreier.
Thank you, Your Worship. I know we've mentioned it a few times tonight, but I just want to bring our attention again to our letter canceling Remembrance Day. After a great deal of contemplating and discussion, it was decided that the Royal Canadian Legion Branch 58 would once again pause the annual Remembrance Day ceremony due to the difficult and uncertainty of COVID. And the branch would like to express their heartfelt gratitude to yourself and all members of the Town of Quispamsis Council for your continued support. Allowing us to host the event at your Qplex facility has given us the opportunity to grow our attendance and pay respect to those who we always remember. We truly hope that 2022 will see us return to a new normal with a full house once again at the Qplex as we honor our veterans. Once again, Your Worship, we thank you and look forward to your continued support in the future. I just wanted that letter to be read out loud so our residents know that the ceremony has been canceled. But however, we encourage you to take that time on the 11th hour, the 11th day, the 11th month to take time to reflect. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Schreier. And yes, we certainly appreciate all that our troops in the past have done, and certainly our present troops as well. And we will continue to recognize them this coming November 11th and in the future as well at the Qplex. Okay, it's been moved by Councillor Olson, seconded by Deputy Mayor Schreier. On the question, please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. Item number 13, business arising from Committee of the Whole. There is none. Item 14, request for adjournment. It's been moved by Councillor Donovan, seconded by Councillor Bigger. On the question, please vote now. Motion carried 7-0. As always, I hope you find joy in the rest of your week and spread some joy to others. Thank you very much for being with us. Have a good evening.